The Confessions of Saint Augustine, Book 2, Chapter 10. Who can disentangle that twisted and intricate knottiness? Fall is it. I hate to think on it, to look on it. But you I long for, O righteousness and innocency, beautiful and comely to all pure eyes, and of a satisfaction unsating. With you is rest entire, and life imperturbable. Whoso enters into you enters into the joy of his Lord, and shall not fear, and shall do excellently in the all excellent. I sank away from you, and I wandered, O my God, too much astray from you, my stay, in these days of my youth, and I became to myself a barren land. Book 3, Chapter 1. To Carthage I came, where there sung all around me in my ears a caldron of unholy loves. I loved not yet I loved to love. And out of a deep-seated want, I hated myself for wanting not. I sought what I might love, in love with loving, and safely I hated, and away without snares. For within me was a famine of that inward food, yourself, my God. Yet through that famine I was not hungered, and was without all longing for incorruptible sustenance, not because filled therewith, but the more empty, the more I loathed it. For this cause my soul was sickly and full of sores. It miserably cast itself forth, desiring to be scraped by the touch of objects of sense. Yet if these had not a soul, they would not be objects of love. To love then and to be beloved was sweet to me, but more, when I obtained to enjoy the person I loved, I defiled, therefore, the spring of friendship with the filth of concupiscence, and I beclouded its brightness with the hell of lustfulness, and thus foul and unseemly I would fain, through exceeding vanity, be fine and courtly. I fell headlong then into the love wherein I longed to be ensnared. My God, my mercy, with how much gall did you, out of your great goodness, besprinkle for me that sweetness? For I was both beloved and secretly arrived at the bound of enjoying, and was with joy fettered with sorrow-bringing bonds, that I might be scourged with the iron burning rods of jealousy and suspicions and fears and angers and quarrels. Chapter 2. Stage plays also carried me away, full of images of my miseries and of fuel to my fire. Why is it that man desires to be made sad, beholding doleful and tragical things, which yet himself would no means suffer? Yet he desires as a spectator to feel sorrow at them. This very sorrow is his pleasure. What is this but a miserable madness? For a man is the more affected with these actions, the less free he is from such affections. Howsoever, when he suffers in his own person, it uses to be styled misery. When he compassionates others, then it is mercy. But what sort of compassion is this for the faint and cynical passions? For the auditor is not called on to relieve, but only to grieve, and he applauds the actor of these fictions the more he grieves. And if the calamities of those persons, whether of all times or mere fiction, be so acted that the spectator is not moved to tears, he goes away disgusted and criticizing. But if he be moved to passion, he stays intent and weeps for joy. Are griefs then too loved? Verily all desire joy. Or whereas no man likes to be miserable, is he yet pleased to be merciful? Which because it can't be without passion, for this reason alone are passions loved? This also springs from that vein of friendship. But whither goes that vein? Whither flows it? Wherefore runs it into that torrent of pitch babbling forth those monstrous tides of fond lustfulness, into which it is wilfully changed and transformed, being of its own will precipitated and corrupted from its heavenly clearness? Shall compassion then be put away? By no means. Be griefs then sometimes loved, but beware of uncleanness, O my soul, under the guardianship of my God, the God of our fathers, who is to be praised and exalted above all for ever. Beware of uncleanness. For I have not now ceased to pity, but then in the theatres I rejoiced with lovers when they wickedly enjoyed one another, although this was imaginary only in the play. And when they lost one another, as if very compassionate, I sorrowed with them, yet had my delight in both. But now I much more pity him that rejoices in his wickedness than him who is thought to suffer hardship by missing some pernicious pleasure and the loss of some miserable felicity. This certainly is the true mercy, but in it grief delights not. For though he that grieves for the miserable he commended for his office of charity, yet had he who is genuinely compassionate rather there were nothing for him to grieve for. For if goodwill be ill-willed, which can never be, then may he who truly and sincerely commiserates wish there might be some miserable that he might commiserate. Some sorrow may then be allowed, known, loved. For thus do you, O Lord God, who love souls far more purely than we, and have more incorruptibly pity on them, yet are wounded with no sorrowfulness. And who is sufficient for these things? But I, miserable, then loved to grieve, and sought out what to grieve at, when in another's and that feigned and personated misery, that acting best pleased me, and attracted me the most vehemently, which drew tears from me, what marvel that an unhappy sheep straying from your flock, and impatient of your keeping, I became infected with a foul disease? And hence the love of griefs, not such as should sink deep into me, for I love not to suffer what I loved to look on, but such as upon hearing these fictions should lightly scratch the surface, upon which, as on envenomed nails, followed inflamed swelling imposthumes and a putrefied sore. My life being such, was it life, O my God?